already worn this though.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
He's fed out of it and home.
Okay, and continue, with all that stuff.
Do you want me to try and put it on him? Or?
No, you're fine.
Okay.
So what you would do is when he's wearing this, he's most likely going to be wearing this, is you can actually use your e-collar.
The problem with this one is it didn't fit through there. Like I did try, and I think
Oh, the strap?
Yeah, the straps on that are like too loose.
Oh, I see.
Or too thick.
So with this one, it actually fits.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome.
So when you get the correct one, and in the meantime, you can use this, of course. I'll have you pass this to Hannah. And I'm sorry, your name again?
I'm Eileen.
Eileen.
Her mom.
Eileen.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'll give you this back.
Thank you.
So go to get the setup going.
Here, Mom. Here, give it.
Dog here too.
We've gone to dog parks and he's great with other dogs. It's the people he doesn't care for.
It's people, okay. I was trying to remember here. So remember the house stuff.
Yeah, the last time we took him to the dog park, we didn't care for. He was great with the other dogs, but we were walking parallel to a man who also had an Australian Shepherd, and he made a big circle around. So it was Hannah, me, this man, and our dogs, and he made a big circle around, came between us, and like the man never saw it, but like leapt, snapped at his hand while his hand was down here from behind.
Yep.
That was it. We were like, okay.
That's a big herding move right there.
Yeah.
That big roundabout. There you go.
Sorry.
And then just blue button on the side to turn it on. Press and hold, just light up. Yep. And then if you grab the box and hit the pager function, it should vibrate if it's on. So you're gonna grab the box on his neck, the pager.
Yeah, it's not on.
Okay. So then if you look at it, you know to move his fur, like you look for that red dot, you can turn it on while he's wearing it.
So I just click this one again?
No, you don't have to press any more buttons, just the two red dots need to touch. If it's not on top, then it's probably on the bottom.
Sit. Sit.
It's a pretty color.
Thank you.
He's a love of a dog to the people that he knows. Hannah's sister came home from college. He hasn't seen her in over 7 months due to COVID. She walked up the driveway, and it was like she's been there for 7 months.
Did he know her before he was 6 months?
Yes.
Yeah, that's why. Typically, before the behavior start, or before the age of 6 months, anybody or any dog they met before then, they're fine with.
Okay.
As after the issues start, or after the turnaround happens, or after 6 months, anybody after that time frame tends to be not trusted. So.
Yeah, because we were like totally worried
Got
or
it?
whatever.
Yeah.
And we agreed.
So, we're gonna jump right into it. What is it set at currently?
42.
So we're gonna dip that down. We're gonna go to 15. That's typically where dogs start to feel it. And then we're gonna find, so we have the 3 levels, connection, perception, and working. And we always wanna find that working level, okay? So connection simply means we have contact. That's when you see the twitch, but doesn't matter to him. So like he could be staring at something and you see this happening and it's like whatever, okay? Perception level would be the twitching and then like a very subtle kind of movement of like what was that for or what is that? And then working level is like, whoa, I don't like that, okay? And we always want to find that working level because that's what's going to make your obedience effective right off the bat. Okay. So the reason why we progress very quickly is because I don't ease or baby dogs into things, especially if we have behavioral cases. They're dogs, they bite each other. Like they don't like give each other a manual and say, read this before you play with dogs at the dog park, right? It's just you go in and if you misbehave, they bite. So there is a logic to this. Of course, we're not trying to get him yelping and rolling on the ground, but we do want him to show some concern, especially when we're talking about aggressive type responses. If there's no caution, he's not going to care about stopping his own behavior, okay? So the button you're going to be pressing is that bumping one on the side, says Nick, and you're going to look at blue here, and I'm going to have you just anchor yourself. I'm going to shorten these just a wee bit here. Like that, that's good, okay? And we're going to look at blue, and when I say tap, you're going to press the button. Tap, tap, tap. Nothing. We're going to go to 20. You can land on 21, 22, it's fine, just general range. And tap, tap, tap. Nothing, 25. Tap, tap, tap. Maybe something, 30. Tap, 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 35. Tap, 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 40. And this is normal in the beginning. Tap. Whoop. Now we're going to go down to 30. Okay. Actually, let's go down 25, let's go down 5, let's go down 5 more. Tap, 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 30. So either he turned his neck and we had really good connection at that moment, or it just caught him by surprise. He's never felt that before.
Okay.
So it doesn't always mean the skunk ring, okay?
Yeah.
So we're at 30 now?
Yes.
Tap, 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 tap. There. See that big jump there.
Yeah.
Let's go down.
Is it not tight enough, the collar then? Like, is it not getting good?
Maybe,
connection?
plus he has that fur.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's okay for now.
Okay.
If once we start working with them, we may tighten it. Let's go back down to that 25. Tap. 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 All right, back up to 30. Tap. 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 Yeah, so you see how he just simply moved his head and now we got like, it's not the same. So we'll go to just tighten it now. It should be snug enough that you feel like he's choking and then loosen a notch.
Okay.
And then do it. And then with these guys, you can also pull the fur apart to clear the area.
Pull his fur out from that.
He's got a big old scruff on that.
Might have been on this other.
Get the other one really tight.
I think this is real snug.
So with the e-collar, we don't go by the collar, we go by the box. So the box should be pressed up right against the neck, where it's really difficult to get fingers in there because
Yeah.
it's uncomfortable because you're trying to get through all that fur. Okay. And then we're going to go down to 15 again. So whenever you adjust your collar in the beginning, you always want to go back down again in case you have good contact. We're not catching them right off guard. Tap, tap. Oh yeah, you see that difference? Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go to 18. So that's connection. Tap, 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 tap. 25. Tap, tap. Right. So that's perception. Okay. So you got some very subtle movements there. Let's go to 30. Tap, tap. Go down to 27. Tap. All right, down to 23. So now he's getting a little bit more weight. Tap. All right, we're gonna start with that for now. Okay. So as you get used to this, it becomes kind of like I look at a dog, I can tell right off the bat, and when there's no connection, and like let's say you're at 30 and it's just nothing, like I could jump to 40, 50, like in 10s, because there's no connection anyways. So by the time it kicks in, chances are he's not going to feel the full power. And then don't get married to a number. Like right now it's 23. It might go up, it might go down today. When you go home, it might change in the neighborhood. Is there somebody coming into the house? You know, is he in the yard? You're going by the moment. Okay, that's why working number is what's going to work within that specific moment. Right now, in a fairly bland environment, things here, it's 23. And then once we start working with them, we'll figure that out as well. So this exercise is super simple. This is the healing exercise. This is the walking by you. I know we have behavioral stuff we want to work on, but we start with this exercise first because it fixes a lot of problems, okay? It fixes typically about 70% of issues because of the structure and discipline that goes behind it. But also it teaches them what the e-collar is, how it turns on, how it turns off. He's not meant to be wearing this. He's not meant to have his muscles contracted. You know, he knows what being bit is like or what it is, but he doesn't understand what this is, okay?
Right.
So we're using this exercise to teach, it's glue, right?
Glue, yeah.
Glue, how it turns on and how it turns off. And we want him to see it as a communicator. Most people think of it as a punisher. So that means if they do something bad, we use it to punish the behavior, right? And yes, it can absolutely be used as a punisher. And it's not that it is a wrong approach. It's just I want to make sure the way he perceives it is a means of communication. So if a dog were to bite him, or if he were to bite a dog or a person, it's communication. Like with the whole instance when you said it was you, and then the gentleman over here, and he like swung around, he lifted his hand. He was saying something like, "Hey, you're too close to our personal space.
Right.
Get out of here." That's communication, right? So same thing here. When you use this, I want you to think of this kind of like a bite on the button. You're communicating with them either, "Hey, I don't want you to do that," and then when you stop biting him, it's like, "That's what I wanted you to do." Okay. And as we do this more, it'll make a bit more sense. So this exercise is super simple. We want him to be on our left. So if you're right-handed, it's actually easier to train to the left. And what we're going to do is actually give Blue slack, okay? And go ahead and relax your hand right there, good. And bring the leash so that the loop is on in between you and Blue, so I can show you the visual here. Okay, so let it drop there. Give the slack. About there, that's good. Relax your hand. Go ahead and take up about 6 inches of slack. That's good. Now relax. So you see that little, it makes like a little J there?
Yep.
You see the bottom of the J, how it's right by his armpit? As a visual, when you have the space and you don't have to worry about, you know, people walking by and stuff, I want you to walk with your leash like this, okay? The reason why you want it about here is because when you're walking, it'll prevent it from going underneath his legs. If you have it too loose, it's underneath his legs and you're constantly adjusting. When we keep it about armpit height, you avoid that, okay? The foundation of this exercise, or the purpose of the exercise is to teach Blue to walk at our left side. So, one thing I want to get in your head right now is every time Blue passes you, you're going to make an immediate 180 turn to your right like this, okay? And if he passes, like this. And he passes like this, okay? It's straight back. You're not rounding it out. Don't go like this. This is incorrect, okay? Just going to go straight back, boom, 180, okay? Now, while you're also doing this, you're going to be using your remote, and I will tell you tap when you press the button. So it would be he passes, tap, 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 boom. Tap, 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 boom. And just keep repeating that, okay? And we're going to have to adjust our number and stuff, which I'll coach you through. But the main thing I want you to remember is simply when I say the word turn, you're just going to do this, okay? And then when I say tap, you're going to press that button. So if I say tap, 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 that would be your rhythm. If I say tap, 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 that would be your rhythm, okay? If I say slow turn, it's exactly what I mean. It's just you just slow down. This turn doesn't matter. You just do it how you would do it, but just make sure you slow down. Because that's typically, when you hear me start saying slow and slow turn, it's because the dog is starting to learn the exercise, and we're giving them the opportunity to follow your lead by your body language, okay? So, main things to remember is when I say turn, 180 to the immediate right. And when I say tap, you're going to press that button, okay? And then I'll tell you, I'll say like bump it to 25 or whatever, and then you just adjust it. Don't worry about being specific.
Okay.
Sometimes the dogs will pull over to the right. So if they do that, I'll say pull left, tap. That means this, as you're tapping and as you're walking.
Okay.
Once he pops over, you relax and everything stops. Very important that you keep your arms like this and that we're not like this, okay? You want him to have slack so that he has the capacity to forge ahead so that we can teach him not to do that and instead to walk right here, okay?
Right.
Questions? All right, so whenever you're ready, go ahead and just start walking forward. Yep, keep that arm relaxed. And turn. Tap, tap, keep the arm relaxed. Pull to your left. Tap, tap, keep moving. Tap, and relax. Turn, tap, arm relaxed. Turn, tap, 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 keep forward, tap. Good. Turn, tap, tap, relax. Turn, tap, tap. Turn, tap, tap. We're at 23, right?
Yep.
Okay. Keep forward. Turn, tap, tap, tap. Relax. Keep forward. Turn, tap, 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 tap. Let's go to 26. And just pivot inwards. Relax. Turn, tap, tap. There we go. Good. Keep forward. Turn, tap, 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 tap. Good. Keep forward. Turn, tap, tap, tap. Pull to your left, tap, 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 and relax. Keep straight, keep straight. Good. Slow turn. Turn, tap, 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 forward, tap, 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 and relax. Pick up a little bit of leash, about 4 inches. There you go. You thought about it there. Good. Keep forward. Now slow up. Slow. Go to turn. Tap. Tap. Forward. Tap. Good. Go to your left. Tap. Tap. And relax. Good. Tap. Forward. Turn. Tap. 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 Good. Good. You're going to slow down. Going to slow turn. Good. Going to slow down again. Keep forward. Slow down a bit more. And stop. Good. See where he's at?
Mm-hmm.
You know why he's turning to your right?
Paying attention to me.
Yeah. Why else?
Because I keep falling this way.
You keep turning to the right.
Yeah.
For the 180s. Okay? So, do you know how this exercise works, or can you decipher how it's working?
It teaches him that, like, whenever he's going forward, I'm bringing him that way.
Right. So, the most common way people try to teach the heel is when the dog forges, they'll say, like, no. They'll punish or, zap the
Yank
dog,
it or-
yank
yeah.
it, exactly. The dog jumps back, and they'll say heel. And the dog, they'll go, boom, and they repeat that process. And the problem is, it requires the dog to understand that pulling is wrong, which there is no right and wrong in the dog world, and to understand what no means, right? And that to tie in the heel means to walk in my heel. Okay, dogs don't learn that way. Like,
Yeah.
a human can tie that together because we think more complexly. Dogs don't. Dogs are very simple. So this exercise is when he forges ahead, don't go that way, right? So you're correcting him and he feels that, but then when he turns around, he's like, oh, you're going that way.
Right.
And then when he catches up, it stops. You see that? So then he's able to do that math because it's like every time I go this way, I get tapped, but when I'm next to mom, the tapping goes away.
Right.
You got a guy on the bike coming. So, and I keep repeating that. So that's why it's important that we find that number first, because it shortens the length of this process. And then we just jumped in, what was it, 23 to 26?
20, yeah.
Yep. And then you start to tie in a bit more. Okay. Questions so far about any of this stuff? Okay. So what we're doing here is just, again, teaching them the communication of the remote. Right now the remote is saying, if you're going the wrong way, you need to follow my lead, right? We're getting that baseline structure down. So when people walk their dogs, typically it's just this, right? And your dog becomes what you allow them to practice. So if your dog is practicing a lot of non-structured, do what I want, pee whenever I want, lunge and bark and all that stuff, that becomes more of your dog. But if we start to practice this, and when we're going for a walk, he's disciplined and he's being mindful of his handler, and when they stop, he stops with them and he waits patiently until he's given the next cue, and then he's given permission to go play, you get that kind of dog. Right? It's just like kids. Dogs are like 3 to 4-year-old toddlers. That's why I tell everybody that's their mental capacity. So if you let a 3 to 4-year-old toddler win a bunch of like battles and like give them whatever they want, you're raising a really big problem in the future, right? So here, it's the same exact concept, except we don't have conversation like we would with a toddler, as a means of some kind of, if my mom would say like, I'm going to put away all your toys if you keep leaving them out and you're not going to get to play with them for a week, and I can like decipher all that stuff, right? He don't do that. He's just like in the moment. So that's why this is so effective. And this is why I insist people just do e-collar, because you get off leash control right off the bat. It's very simple. This is not like the speed of this exercise and like how fast the dog learns is pretty much always this. By the end of the first class, I know what what I want and how to get there. And this tool allows me to do that. We don't have to worry about physical strength. We don't have to worry about technical skill, right? The problem I have with this is people tense up too much. They're always up here because they're used to holding their dog back. So they got to break that habit and say, actually, now you can relax, right? And all you have to do is press a button and then play with the number a little bit. And that was completely it.
So when he kind of like is paying attention to me and then like comes up off his feet to kind of like look at me, do I tap him for that? Yeah.
So what that is that's frustration. So
just working out what to do, basically.
Yes, that's why it's
frustration. That's not like I love you.
No. That was frustration. That's why when he did it here, I said tap. Because what's happening is now he's getting disciplined, and he's still trying to process and decipher what it is.
Right.
Like he's not 100% like, oh, I know what it is now. Like he's still in that processing stage. So that jumping up was like, what do I do? Right? And I go, keep walking. Right? Keep walking. Right?
Yeah.
But it's important that you, in this exercise, you're keeping that movement, because you're saying, nope, you're not doing that, we're doing this. A lot of people stop, and when they stop, it allows the dog to then keep jumping. But if you're walking and he tries to jump, he's going to do one or the other. He can't jump as he's walking.
Right.
It's very uncomfortable. So then the tap comes in and goes, knock that off, and he puts his paws back on the ground, and then nothing happens. He goes, oh, I guess I'm not supposed to jump.
Right.
Okay? And that was like very minor. I had another client I worked with a dog kept jumping on them. The wife, like almost like the first 5 minutes that she started working with them. And it was very interesting because with the husband, the dog did a little bit, but as soon as he gave the dog to the wife, the dog was just all over her.
Like she responds more to it.
Yeah, so I can usually see like who babies the dog the most, or who's like excitement to the dog or represents excitement and stuff.
Yeah.
So you always want to represent calmness, authority. I don't want the dog. Excitement's fine, but it's on your cue. But when typically the people, once they come home, dog, and they leave, bye.
Right.
And then they play all day, and then they cuddle all day. So they just represent that to the dog. And I want the dog to see me as an authority who also does things like that with them.
That's kind of what I think Elliot's problem was, is the one friend that we had come over, she met him when he was like little, like 4 months, and so he greeted her like an old friend, but like very closely after that, he went towards her face, and it was just like us sitting there, and I got up, and then she didn't even do anything really, but he went towards her, and I think it was more because he viewed her as almost like a sibling, or like just she's never worked with him or anything.
Right.
So I felt like it was something like a respect level kind of thing.
Sure. So you're either their buddy or you're their authority, right? I look at this as a parent-child relationship. Okay, and that's the best way to look at it. So like my mom is my mom, and we did things that were like, I don't want to say buddy type stuff, but we did do stuff like that growing up. But she's still my mom at the end of the day, and I still respect her as my mom at the end of the day. Same thing for dogs, except when people get dogs, they usually get them for companionship and buddy stuff. And yeah, you can get that with some personality types, but then you get a personality like Blue. And then people are like, how come this dog's not like my, like I had people that have had 10 like labs all their life. I've had 10 labs. Then they get that one lab. They're like, I've had labs all my life. What's up with this dog?
Right.
I'm like, you're stereotyping the breed when every dog is their own personality type, and you just happen to get that one. that's not like the other 10 that you always have.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. It does.
So I just treat dogs like dogs treat each other. I don't care if they're super friendly, happy-go-lucky. I don't care if they're the most aggressive dog in the world. I treat them all the same. And that's why I have such like high success, and I don't ever have much issues with them because it's across the board.
Right.
Okay? So we're gonna repeat that exercise again. Do you have any other questions so far about this?
No, not really. In terms of like, so when
one of our big issues is like him barking in the yard and stuff, and like this is probably further along. In the meantime, while we're training, I shouldn't have the collar on him like while he's in the yard or anything. I mean,
Yes, right. You're going to only use the collar for things that I've shown you.
Okay.
I know we want to get somewhere.
Right, but it takes time.
Yeah, it's going to be a quick progression. By the time we hit class 3, we'll be diving into that stuff. Okay. The reason why I say you want to stay away from it now is because it's so quick. People try to jump into it themselves, and they either do it incorrectly,
Right.
or they screw things up, or I've had people scare their dogs away because they're like at the park and they're like, "I'm gonna just call my dog and remote them. They should
Right.
just come to me." You have to teach it. So then they're like,
Otherwise,
"Jesse."
he just freaks out and is like, "What just happened? I'm
Yes.
gonna run away."
Yes. So I'm like, and they're like coming to me. I'm like, "Hey," I was like, well, "Did I cover recall with you?" They go, "No." I'm like, "Then why would you go over it? Like, until we cover it." So you're only doing the leash walking stuff now, because you're also developing your skills and how it works, and just the logic behind it,
Right.
as well as him just kind of deciphering what does the remote actually mean.
Right.
Okay. So we're at 26, right? Okay, we'll start there, and then just go ahead and start walking forward. Don't worry about him. Tap. And pull to your left. Tap. Tap. Good. And relax. And slow turn here. And pull to your left. Tap. And give a bit of slack here. Tap. Left. Good. Tap. Left. There you go. Good. Slow turn. Good. Go ahead and give him like tap forward, like another 6 inches of slack. Remember, you want to see that J by the armpit. Pull to your left, tap, tap, tap. Good. And relax. Tap, tap. Let's go to 29. Turn, tap, tap. Pull to your left, tap. Good. Tap forward, good. There he goes, good. Turn, tap. Relax your arm. Now slow walk here. Go ahead and pick up the pace. Tap. Good. Turn, tap, tap. Pull your left, tap, tap, tap. Good. Relax, good. Slow turn, tap, tap forward. Going to slow walk. Good. Going to slow to stop. Good. Go ahead and take a few steps. Go ahead and take one big step. Tap. Nope. Forward tap. Tap. To your left. Tap. 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 There it is. Good. Okay. So right there, you see how he's matching your pace, and then I said slow down, do 5 steps, which you did for the most part. That one big step caught him, right? He was like, he kept back, and then when you tapped him, he moved forward, and then we just directed him, and there he is, and he's boom,
Right
spot
there.
on that left leg, right? So he's learning that that left leg is the place to be right now. So we're eliminating everything else as an option. So of course, when he passes us, we got a runner's coming. So when he passes us, we're turning and we're saying not that way, right? And then when it comes to the going to the right side, we're saying wrong side, this side, right? And we're doing all these little means of communication with that remote, biting him,
Yeah.
and it's that quick, okay? So when you talk essentially dog language, it's that quick. Almost always, it's that quick. Okay, all the food stuff, it's bullshit.
Yeah, he totally knows if you've brought like Cheerios with you on a walk or not. Like he totally is so aware of like where your hands are and if you actually have treats or not. So it just never works.
Right. Well, I mean that, and like let's say it did get like his attention and stuff. It's just, how'd you say? You guys are fine. It's just how'd you say? There's no consequence for things. Positive reinforcement is great for stuff you want to see again. When you say sit, he puts his butt down to the boy, right? But then when you put him in a distracting environment, if there's more going on in the environment, he's not going to care about the treats anymore, right? Dogs, one trainer put it as it's better to teach a dog what not to do than it is what to do. Okay, which is true.
Yeah.
You know, don't jump, don't bark, don't bite.
Right.
You know, all that stuff. Like people really don't care about obedience. I get a lot of people that their dog's great, super friendly, doesn't know any obedience stuff other than maybe the kid, like a sit for a treat or something, but they're super friendly, so they don't care.
Like I do.
You know, yeah, right? There you go. But when you get a dog like this, and all of a sudden it's like, oh crap, now we need to fix the issue. Yeah. So it's super common. So is this all making sense so far?
Yeah.
Is it simple?
Yeah.
Good. Now, who's going to be the primary handler? Is it going to be you?
Me, yeah.
Okay. Would you be doing anything, Eileen, or no?
Yep.
You will?
Yep.
Okay.
I think it. So since there's 5 of us that live in the house, but probably the 2 of us
Primarily.
are primarily.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably better if there is more than one
So,
handler, correct?
correct. So, like, let's say within the home, right? You want to look at this as a hierarchy,
Okay.
right? So we have a family. It's mom, dad, kids, right? And so I'm the oldest of 4 kids by 7, 8 years. And I could not discipline my brothers or sister. I tried, but guess what happened to me? I got
I
know it happened to you.
She was number 3 or 4, so.
Yeah.
We wouldn't listen. No.
So I tried to discipline them. Clearly, you know, I got spanked for that, blah, blah, blah. Which is a hierarchy. Okay. Now, if my mom and dad were out, maybe getting groceries, they would say, like, Jesse, you're in charge of taking care of the kids, but you still can't spank them. Right? Like, you're an authority, but you don't have that.
Full power.
Exactly. So, in the family with the dog, he's bottom of the barrel. Everybody's supposed to be above the dog. Okay? So, ideally, yes, everybody would want to be on the same page. However, if, let's say, it's you 2 and the other 3 are like, it's fine, we're not going to do anything, but we're not going to inhibit the training either, then you're, for the most part, okay. But when you guys are gone, don't expect him to be
The same dog.
exactly, because he knows, oh, they don't do anything. I've also had families where they're split, they're divided, and half the family are for training, half the family are anti-training, and they'll like remove the collar, or they'll say, oh no, leave him alone, don't do that, right? Now, and if you don't follow through, he will learn that.
Oh, yeah.
He will go like, oh, when dad's around or so-and-so's around.
I can get away with this.
Exactly. And it doesn't matter if they have the remote. I'll still get away with it. Okay? It's like kids. That was me with my grandma.
Right.
When
He's
I was with
already
grandma.
doing some of that at home.
Yeah.
Yeah. He knows who he can beg food from and who will give him this and that.
When he has to go in his crate,
Yeah.
like for barking, and when he can keep barking.
Yeah. So if everybody's on the same page, then for him it's like, okay, it's super simple.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't expect everybody to do the same training. If they did, awesome. As long as they don't inhibit the training. As long as they just let you do what you need to do.
Yeah.
Because like let's say when we start dabbling with the aggression stuff, and I don't foresee this, but as an example, let's say it's like crap, he needs 127 to stop the behavior. And
They think it's 127. Yeah, that's my problem is I love them, but I don't necessarily trust them to understand like when he will need to be tapped or like what level it is and stuff. And I
Sure.
feel like he's just such a nervous dog that if they do make one of those mistakes, I don't want them to like ruin the whole collar. For
Sure.
him.
So they won't ruin it for. They won't ruin it. Like one moment of an accidental overhit
Right.
won't ruin him. If anything, it actually helps because then he's like, holy shit.
That's what it can do.
Yeah. Okay. Once they get an idea, because you have to understand, dogs bite each other. So you can shake your can of pennies and you can scream no as loud as you want. You can be as tough as loud, as big as you want, whatever. He's just looking at you like, I'll bite you. You know what I mean? Like that's the end conversation.
Yeah.
He will win that conversation.
Right.
Remote allows us to get as close to a bite as possible, of course, without doing that level of harm. So I've had cases where the person accidentally overhits, and I'll tell them, don't worry about it. It is what it is. You don't ever want to console if you do that. Okay? Because if you do an overhit, like earlier, he yapped on 40, and I just said, don't worry about it. Just go back down. If you go like, oh, I'm sorry, buddy, you're now negating yourself. Okay, so my mom didn't like spank me and say, oh, I'm sorry. It was like, well, think about what you did. You know what I mean? It was like, if you don't want to get spanked, don't do it. Same thing for dogs. Okay, if it happens, it happens. You just look at it and go, okay, 45 was too much. Okay, and that's why we start low, we work our way up. Too high, down, just the collar, went down again, back up, there's a logic to it. And eventually, once you get consistency, you're like, oh, this is his size, this is where we fit the collar, and his number is typically around 23. Like dogs will have a range, like 25 to 35 is usually the general range. But it changes on context. You know, that's here. At home, inside, it might be different. When he's in the yard barking with the neighbors, whatever, it's going to be different. And you're learning all this as you go along. So then you'll just find yourself, we're going in the yard, 45. We're going for a walk, 35. Someone's coming over, 75. You're just going to naturally do these things. Okay?
Yeah.
Other questions?
No.
Eileen, would you like to give it a go?
Sure. Which button? This is.
That'll be the bumpy button.
It's this button on the side. It's easier if you like hold it like that.
And then we're at 29, is it?
30.
30? Okay, we'll start there. Go ahead and give just a wee bit more slack here. There you go. And go and just walk forward and tap, tap, pull to your left, tap, and relax. Pull to your left, tap. Good. Go ahead and slow turn here. Good. And forward. Good. Go ahead and pick up your pace a bit. Tap, tap, pull to your left, tap, and turn, tap, forward. Now slow walk here. Tap, 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 tap. There we go. It's good. And pick up your pace. Excellent. Good. Go and slow down. Good. Go and slow turn. Good. Forward. Slow down again. Go and stop. Good. Okay. So, see how you got the same thing that she did in like a minute?
Yeah.
Because everything stays the same. The only thing that changes is the handler. So as long as you're doing the same exercise and turns and pressing the button, he just goes, oh, it's the same with you as it was with Hannah.
Okay.
So that's why I also love e-collar. It's because transference is super high.
Okay.
So when I used to work with dogs and then hand them to the owner, about 70% would just transfer right away, as long as they did the stuff. Okay? So same thing for your family. If they're like, oh wow, like he's doing really well, and you're like, yeah, do you want to learn how to do it? It's simple, right? It would be the exact same thing. It's just transfer that easy, right? Now, if you ever heard them say like, man, Blue isn't that good at walking, and you're like, well, he's great with me, it means they're not reinforcing the exercise.
Right.
Okay? E-collar is super simple. It's very effective. Okay, so whenever you're walking with Blue, it should never feel like an argument. Okay, when you have appropriate numbers and you're doing everything correctly, which at this point it's super simple. He goes that way, we go this way, you press the button, and he's here again. Okay, it should be that quick. If it's not, it usually means that we're too low or you're tightening up on that leash. Okay, because that happens subconsciously. People go back to old habits and then they're rearing back on their dog and they're promoting pulling because there's too much tension. So we always want to make sure that we're nice and relaxed. Walking with our dog should be an enjoyable thing, not up here. Okay? And you'd be surprised how many people carry tension with them when they walk their dog. So then their hands are like this.
Yeah, we do. I mean, honestly, we do.
You know, like being on the
We're
edge.
avoiding everybody.
Yeah. So when we do this nice, more slack approach, you do it when you know you have the capacity to. Like right now, it's clear here. I'm your eyes over here. There's nobody. So you have the ability to do this, right? So let's say we see a family walking down the sidewalk and we go, oh, like we don't want to just walk past them at this point. What we would do is we would step aside, and I like to go by the curb, and we'd be like this, okay? we'll add this in, but he would technically sit down. Then I shorten my leash just in case. Okay? So if I'm dealing with a dog that has dog reactivity, we shorten it to be proactive. So if the dog decides to explode, they're not going to get anywhere.
Right.
But I'm not like this. I'm not short and tight. I'm short in case the dog has a moment. I have more immediate leverage. Because this way, if he goes forward, as soon as I pull up, I'm making contact. People tend to give too much slack, and then they're like this.
Right.
Yeah.
And the dog's all the way over there, right? So first thing I do is always shorten that leash, step aside, I give that space. So if he has issues with bikes or strollers or rollerbladers or people or whatever it is, you want him to see it. And when he's for him, he's going, oh, people can run by or bike by, or a big family can walk by. Don't bother me now. So you have to get him used to be able to see that, just being in passive mode before we would progress towards being able to just walk past those things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
It's much easier to control your dog when you're stationary than when you're moving.
So
Okay.
if we're like walking around our neighborhood at home and like there's a ton of kids in our neighborhood this summer. I don't know where they came from, but if they're coming in a group, just move to the side, sit them down, let them do their thing, and then go.
Correct.
Okay.
So we shorten our leash. Your responsibility is blue. So when you're like this, you can see his eyes, his ears, his hackles, his tail, his chest. You can see all of blue here. Okay, and we want to keep him sitting. We wouldn't technically let him lie down. For now, I don't care. Okay, but the reason why we don't let him lie down is see how much more slack there is. So if you were to give slack to Blue to lay down, he'd have 3 feet of slack.
Right.
So if he decided to go, he has
He'd
3
have
feet.
3 feet. Yep.
So we keep him sitting because it allows you to shorten it to like 6 inches. He ain't getting anywhere. Okay. So I'm watching Blue, but out of my peripheral range, like I can see Blue, Eileen, Bill, and you, Hannah, right? All through here, but my focus is would be on Blue. So you use that. This group is coming, and maybe one of those kids you see one of those kids kind of veer off, and it looks like they're coming towards you. Now you shift your attention to go, whoa, no,
Yeah.
we're training, or whatever it is you have to say, right? Because if you get 2 and 2 in here, next thing you know, here's
There's
kid.
a kid. Yeah.
Okay, so you're doing both. You're controlling your own dog and the situation on your part by doing this, but at the same time, you have to be ready for this part because it does happen.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I've had it happen to plenty of clients where they're like, Jesse, I stepped aside and the person thought I was inviting them to like bring their dog over.
Right.
And I was like, that's why as soon as you see that, you just address it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. People can communicate with words. You don't need to meet
Absolutely.
people.
And you may get that person or that child that just keeps going. Like they're so tuned in on the dog that they don't hear you say no. That you might have to be curt and rude, or I've even done this, or I'll stick out my foot, because then they go, what? They're like, what's this? And I'm like, no,
It's
I
better
told
than
you.
getting bit. Like,
Yeah, so if they meet you with rudeness, don't worry about it. Just tell them I said no and you didn't listen. You're not gonna touch my dog. Okay? I don't say please anymore. I've learned in 10 years that people don't listen to please. I just say, don't touch my dog. No, not here. And I made on my YouTube channel. I've been making videos because when we work in Oz Park, we've had at least 20 to 25 off-leash encounters, and you'll hear me just go up and go, leash your dog, call your dog, not here, no, like to everybody, to show people you can speak up and you have to be direct about it.
Right.
Okay, you're not being rude, you're just being direct because you know your dog, they do not.
And you're being responsible for your dog. Like
Yes.
he can be dangerous. I gotta make sure he doesn't hurt
Yes,
someone.
but unfortunately, not everybody thinks that way.
Right.
Okay, and then you're gonna, I'm good with dogs, blah blah blah, and it's like shut the hell up and just keep on. Okay, so
I've
I've heard
so
a lot
many
of
people
crazy
that are
stories.
like, oh, it's fine. Like my dog's scared too, and I'm like, yeah, but this isn't your dog. Like he
Absolutely.
doesn't know you. You might be good with your dog, but you're not good with him.
So if you want to pet a dog, go home and pet your own dog.
Yeah,
But not
exactly.
this one. Okay.
So I do have a question about his behavior right now, which
Yep.
is this is unusual. Is this
Yep.
like he's overloaded?
No, this is him actually relaxing.
Okay.
Okay, like so. What the people look at this and they go, it looks like depression,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, it looks like
Yeah.
like holy crap.
No,
what
he's
the hell
actually
is
in a
going
passive
on?
state. He's processing. This is very mentally exhausting.
Okay.
Okay, so in terms of his response to the e-collar, he was responding really well. He was responding like I would want a dog to. I get dogs, and you'll see them that like just like a lot of panting, which panting is relaxation and venting stress, but also it can be anxiety. You see the eyes bulging, right? A lot of saliva just coming out.
It's very anxious.
Yes, right? But it's all part of the process. we're not making the dog anxious. The dog is already an anxious dog, and the e-collar is a stressor, so it makes sense that the dog's going to be more anxious.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and they're learning like a whole different way of communicating, so it's kind of like
Usually when we're
mind-boggling.
outside, he's like
On,
anxious, like he's on.
Right.
Like all of this is my
He
responsibility. all the
didn't even
time.
lift his head to look
No,
at the football
this is
just
much
now.
calmer,
Yes.
but it's strange.
Because you're saying, earlier when you did all that turning stuff, you're saying, can't do that, can't do that, can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that. So he goes, all right, then
I'll just listen to you then.
yeah, and I'll be calm.
Okay.
So it's like kids, if you don't give kids rules, they're going to be little tornadoes.
Yeah.
Right? So like kids in school, the bell ringing means discipline, time to listen. So if they get a teacher that they respect, the kids are going to settle. They're going to get in their desks and shut up. They're not going to be noisy. They're not going to be playing around. But I've also had teachers that kids didn't respect, and they would still be talking. They take their sweet time going to their desks and stuff, right? It's the same thing here. But with dogs, they don't give respect. Respect is earned, okay? And it's earned through physicality, okay? In our world, respect is taught. You know, you respect your elders, you respect, police officers and firefighters and teachers and all that stuff. And with some personality types, it doesn't mean that they're going to give it, but we teach it, right? With dogs, puppies, as young as 3 to 4 weeks, respect is not given, it's earned. They're biting each other, they're establishing that hierarchy. So when people get their 2-month-old puppies, they're still meant to be bitten. But people
Coddle them like babies.
yeah, it's like they're infants with no motor skills.
Well, when he like was kind of nippy when I first got him. We got him at 3 months, and every time he nipped me, I'd yelp and then like just very not like hitting him, but just like nip him back a little bit, and he didn't nip me after that. Like people I think tend to think dogs are like little babies, like human
Right.
babies.
They
and
think
they're
they're like
not.
amicable creatures that don't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
And if they do anything wrong, it's the owner's fault because they abused them or whatever. A lot of times it's genetics.
Or being pulled. Is it like pulled away from their mother too early? Then they don't really learn respect.
That can screw up because within the litter, they're teaching stuff. They're biting each other. She's nipping at them for like
Right.
nursing too hard and things like that. And moms like dog moms are very like strict. And I made a playlist. We had a gentleman with his dog approaching right here, Eileen. Are very strict, and I actually made a playlist of puppies being corrected by by the mother.
Yeah, that's what I was watching that one. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was very interesting. Yeah,
yeah.
like they have no qualms about it. They're not afraid to hurt them, and
Absolutely
it teaches
not.
them right away. Yeah.
No, because they don't think like we do. Humans, because they're like, oh, animals and animal abuse and all that stuff, right? Is in the dog training world, I'm seen as a bad guy. Like, can you pull up here? Like, pull up? Okay. I was trying to see if we can make a
Oh,
mistake.
we're on this
Yeah,
side?
we're gonna ignore this stuff for now.
Okay.
We're gonna let this just happen because I like the mental state. And I want to just keep things easy.
Okay.
In the dog training world, me and trainers like me are seen like bad guys because of the tools that we use. Okay.
We've had some feedback.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
not to move forward on this,
Right.
but like
It's super common.
everything you say is
Well,
makes
we had
sense.
like one of the people that like approached me about it. They said, "Oh, you don't need that. You don't need that. That's abusive. That's abusive. Just bop him in the nose and tell him no." And I was like, "Bop him in the nose." I was like, "How is you reaching your hand toward a dog and like physically harming it gonna teach him not to be scared of other humans? Like at least this is like very very controlled, and it's like not like
Well-
the same thing as bopping your dog in the nose."
So technically, that's physicality, right? And physicality, you want to interpret it by the meaning behind it. So I was spanked when I was growing up. The intent was to teach a lesson. Don't do that. Don't do that. Blah blah blah. And I'm all the better for it.
Right.
And I love my mom. Nothing ever changed about our relationship because she did it in a healthy manner. But then there's some people, some families that do it in an abusive manner, right? And that's totally different. There's usually anger, some kind of emotion, or like, instability behind that. For him, if you did do a bop in the nose, it's still physicality, right? So and I've had people tell me like, Jesse, like I whacked my dog with the newspaper, right? And they shy away. And you said like right now when you said your story, you said not too much, but I did nip him back, and you went like this, right? You're having that sensitive conversation. Yes, you don't have to do that with me, okay? I get it. That's physicality, and I'll assess what the person says. I'm non-judgmental, and I'm like, that's fine, because it's physicality. But then I go, but did it teach the lesson you tried to teach? And they would say no.
Right.
And I would say, well, then it didn't work, right? If someone said, yeah, I whacked my dog with the newspaper for jumping up and like knocking my coffee over, and I'll say, did it work? And they say, yeah. And I'm like, I don't care, because it's a fucking newspaper. Sorry, it's a newspaper, right? It's yeah. I'm not to edit myself. It's a newspaper. It's not. If they said I picked up my dog, threw him across the room, wailed on him, then I'm like, whoa, that's a bit much there, right? So physicality, the bop on the nose, I get where you're coming from, right? My thing that would be, or my counter argument would be like, if I bop the dog in the nose and the dog has an issue with biting people, I'm putting myself right there in that real estate area.
That, and also then I feel like he's very smart, so I feel like for him, he would just, anytime a hand would come towards him after that, he would think it's like a correction.
Possibly.
Or like he would just, I feel like him as a dog would associate it with the wrong thing. Like he'd just start.
Possibly, yes, that
already
can
has
happen.
an issue with hands, so I'm like, I don't want to correct him with my hands in any way.
Correct. So like, if you guys are familiar with Cesar Millan,
Yeah.
he uses his hands and he uses his feet, right?
Right.
He calls it the touch, and he talks about mimicking dog bites. I do the Cesar Millan correction stuff. I do use my hands. But when I go in thinking this dog might try to bite me back because that's only fair in their language.
Right.
But I'm ready to continue that conversation until I win. Okay? I don't have people do that because they're not me. They're not wanting to get bit. I'm trying to prevent people from getting bit.
Right.
You know, all that stuff. That's why I do e-collar, because it's completely non-confrontational. We've not said a thing to him. All my instruction was to you. That was it.
I haven't said his name.
And I got everything that I always want for the first class, just like that.
Right.
Okay. So questions about any of this stuff here?
No.
We're gonna do about another 10 minutes. Okay. I'll do a bit more with you, and then I'm gonna give you your homework. Okay.
Okay.
So again, just move forward. Yep. Slow. Now slow turn. Then forward. Pick up your pace. Tap. Good. Go slow again. Slow turn. That's fine. Forward.
He's anticipating.
What's yes, but it's okay for now. Okay, that crossover is okay. Go and slow down some more and stop. Go ahead and turn to your right. And forward. Yeah, like that. Now forward. Good. And pick up your pace. Go and slow again. And you slow turn. Good. And pick up your pace. Good. Faster here. And slow. And stop. Okay, so the thing that I wanted to point out here is, do you know how I'm getting him to still be on your hip like that? Because you change
By
pace and all that
slowing
stuff.
down?
Yes. Okay, so you guys drive?
Yep.
What do you do before you stop?
Slow down.
What do you do before you turn?
Slow down.
Signal, I know it's like kind of a trick one, but we slow down as well. Okay, it's the same thing for Blue. So there's two parts to this healing command, and that's the dog paying attention, and then the human communicating. Because you're leading, you know when you're going to stop, you know when you're going to turn. So look at the slowing down as a means of telling Blue something's changing. If he's paying attention, what would he do?
So look at her watch and you stay on the left and figure it out.
Yeah, or he'd slow down. You gave the answer just a little bit more in detail. He would slow down, right? He'd be mindful of you. He would do all that stuff as well. Okay. So when you walk with Blue now, this is going to be how you walk. Okay. When you come out, is the sun in your eyes?
A little bit.
You want to come forward so you don't get that?
That's okay.
I can just see that there. And now here, yeah, lightly pull your left. Yeah. There you go. Now relax. There we go. Very good. So when you walk with Blue now, this is how you want to walk with him. Okay. What I suggest is you come out, start off the potty break, pee, poop, get all that stuff out the way. Then start your walk. We're not going to say heel. Okay, that's the verbal cue for this command. We're just going to use the remote. The tap, once he feels the tap, that's what's going to trigger everything for him. The word means nothing to him. The word is more for the human. Okay, dogs learn by. We have a deaf dog in my facility right now. He can't hear crap, but he still does everything with the remote without any kind of verbal cues, because he's interpreting it according to what's going on in life at the moment, and I'll explain that at a later date. But right now, you're primary focus is when you're walking with Blue is he's here. Okay? So if you're walking, let's say you walk 5 blocks and he's here, you don't need to turn. You just keep going. But then if it's like, oh, I need to stop, there's a red light, you want to slow down as you approach that red light, then stop. If Blue's paying attention, there he is. If he's not paying attention, there he goes, and then what do we do?
Turn around. Okay.
Yeah, correct. Bring it back in. If you have to go back that way, you just turn again and try to come to that stop together. Okay? So people tend to excuse things. They go, oh, I was going to come to a stop anyways. Not a big deal for dog forges. And I go, it's not about that. It's about him here. Okay? He's like your shadow. So when you go for that, 30-minute walk, he might go on autopilot. And he's not going to be as mindful because he's in here, right? And then so when you slow down, it cues to him something's changing, so he should slow down with you as long as he's paying attention. Otherwise, if he's not and he passes, you will always default to that turn and tap, bring it back to your side, and if you go that way, turn again, okay? If you decide to give him another potty break within that walk, come to a stop, wait a moment, break, and lead him to grass to go potty.
Literally say break.
Yeah, break is the verbal cue for you're done. He's off the clock, he can pee, poop, roll around, sniff the ground, do his doggy thing. He's on his own time.
Okay.
Once you're ready, let's say he's over here, I go, all right, you're done now. Tap, tap, I start walking. Now we go.
So there's a verbal cue out, but there's no verbal cue in.
Correct. Not till next week.
Okay.
Okay? Not till next week.
Okay.
The cue is the tap.
Okay.
Trust me, once he feels it, boom, he's going to go. As long as you're at the appropriate number, he's going to know, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be. That's his association right now. Okay? Dogs learn best in smaller chunks, so if you did like 4 15-minute walks, that would be great, or 3 20-minute walks. If all you have is 1 solid hour, that's fine. It's just dogs learn quicker in smaller pieces. Okay? So there's no such thing as too much because this isn't redundant. If he's doing great and walking at your hip, there's nothing to correct. You just keep going. And the more you do that, the more that gets reinforced of, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be. Okay? If you go in the neighborhood and it's different because you got kids and stuff going on, remember you always want to find that working number first. Let him do his potty break, then get that working number, then start your walk. If you're turning 100 times every day and it's not getting better, what does that tell us?
It's not high enough.
Correct. Right? So if we're at 29 and that's 100 turns a day, then I go to 34. And maybe 100 becomes 50, but it's still 50 turns a day. Then I go to 39. Then 50 becomes 10, but it's still 10 turns a day. Then I go to 53 and I start playing with it. And so eventually it's like, oh, I only turn once every other day or once every couple of weeks. Now you're making great progress. Okay? It should be that quick. Okay, so anytime that I have a client struggling, it's because they're not willing or they're not comfortable quite yet with going up higher as needed because they feel bad for the dog.
Right.
Okay. If he tells you it's high, you want it's too low. If he's yipping and rolling and like all that stuff, probably too high.
Yeah.
Don't expect to get again a consistent number. That's why for this week you'll always reset, start at 15, and work your way up.
Okay.
If you find during the walk you always go to 42, and once you get 42, you're like he's perfect, then chances are after 5 days of always doing that, his number's probably 42, right? So then I start like at 35-ish, just under that number, so I don't catch him too off guard, and then you'll get to that number a lot quicker. Okay. Your walk should start off with once you start walking, he's here. It's not a bunch of nonsense for 10 minutes before you starts to listen.
Right.
Again, it's people just easing their dog in too much, and I progress very quickly.
Right.
Okay. Other questions?
Does the walk start at the front door? Because
Do you have a yard and stuff?
yes.
Yeah, we have a pretty long driveway to get out to
Sure. Then
So there's he has loose in the yard, but we'll go for walks around the block. So walk is out of the front door.
Okay. So
Plan is in the backyard.
what I would do is remember get that potty break done first, and if that's on the driveway, then it's fine, and you can wait till you hit the end of the driveway, and then now we start.
now we're walking.
Yeah. If you know he's good to go and he does not have to potty, then you could start right out the front door. Okay? And you just do this exercise on the driveway and then you just keep going. Okay? So once we get a good solid concept in his head of what the heel is, you can turn it on whenever you want it. Like either at the front door, at the end of the driveway and stuff. When he's on break, it doesn't matter what he's doing because you've cued, now we're done. He's off the clock. So if let's say you're working with them and you're like, oh crap, I have to get back home, I'm running late, just come to a stop, wait a moment, do a break, and then if he pulls you home, doesn't matter. Okay, because you said break.
Okay.
Because it's an on and off switch.
Okay.
Break, release. There's one more thing I was going to say, but I forgot it. Any questions?
No. So just using it on walks
For now. Yeah. Don't be, if you see them like tucking away from it and stuff, I would suggest right away, like leave this on them, go home. When you go to remove it, take some cheese, hot dog, whatever, grab the box, give them some treats, take it off, give them some more. You can even randomly throughout the day show it to him, just give him some treats.
Just so he doesn't get a negative association
Yeah.
with
When
it.
you put it on him, same thing. I suggest if you can, put it on 15 minutes prior,
Okay.
then leave it on 15 minutes after, so he doesn't think it's collar on an immediate training. If there's some kind of
Right.
gap there, you could also put it on him during the week, during the day. Sorry, threw me off. During
Yeah.
the day, just to wear it, not do anything with it. Okay. So he just starts to go like, oh, like this thing isn't always like a bad thing.
Right.
It is, right.
Right. Or I don't only have to listen when I'm wearing the collar too, right?
Ideally, but with the behavioral stuff, think of the e-collar again as a cop on a collar. When you're going to need it, it's on. If he's a great dog inside the house, otherwise, you don't need it. Okay? And I'll explain more about that later on. When you go home, if you have nail polish, you can put a strip of nail polish where you have the bar fitted right now. So that while you're using this, you can use it as a reference point.
Okay.
And then go and get the process on so
Of
you can
returning
return
this
that.
one?
Yeah. And then you can email Maria and say, hey Maria, we ended up getting the wrong collar. Do you have the link? She'll send you it. If you have any issues with that, then you can contact her again, and then we'll give you another, either I'll suggest like a different model that I think will work for him or whatever.
Okay.
And then you can hold on to this for as long as you need it.
Okay.
Okay. Because it'll probably be, if they need that back before you can get the other one, it'll probably be like a week or two. Yeah. Okay.
All right, sounds great.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So we'll see you in a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
And then when we meet here, is this kind of where you want to meet, like this corner?
Yeah, and there's parking right here, by the way.
Okay.
You just
We street parked it. So.
Oh, okay, yeah. If you come around, there's parking here, and if this is full, there's actually another parking spot on the other side of the building.
Okay.
So yeah, there's usually plenty of parking here. The
Great.
only drawback to this environment is that this is fairly quiet. At Oz, where we typically work, there's off-leash dogs, strollers, people,
Right.
kids, football, baseball, tennis, like all that stuff going on. So it's a very distracting environment. So it's completely up to you. This is not too far from us, and it's right by the expressway for you guys.
Yeah.
So just for like learning this stuff, it's perfectly fine. Okay.
No, I think to be honest, with his aggression, we're more comfortable.
With less
At least in
people
the beginning, like it's nice to
Sure,
see
and if you
him
wanna
be
shift
calm
it.
out like this, so build our confidence too.
For sure. Yeah. No, absolutely. So if you need anything else, let us know.
Okay.
Keep it the muzzle conditioning. Bring it with just to have it, just in case.
Yep.
And then if any questions pop up, it's best by email.
Yep.
My phone, that's the number I called you from, is in case like it's an emergency, or if it's like, oh crap, Jesse, you got stuck in traffic, we're gonna be like, whatever. Yeah,
right.
then you can reach me through there.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Otherwise, we'll see you in a week, and then if you need anything else, let us know.
Okay, awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.